Christopher Nolan's 2000 debut, Memento, is often brought up as an example of a film that breaks with traditional film structure. People say this because the film's events are presented out of chronological order. How can a film follow a formula if it isn't even linear? But as I explained in my overview video, the order of events is just one of 3 pillars that make up structure. The other 2 are tone and spacing. And Memento certainly shows evidence of those elements, even if its events appear scrambled at first glance. And it's not just me that thinks that. Throughout the entire director's commentary, Nolan describes the wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey aspect of the film as its chronology. He only mentions structure once or twice near the end of the commentary. And it's clear from his comments that he thinks of chronology and structure as separate elements.
Being pushed in one direction and then just stumbling around into another direction, but because of the structure it feels more purposeful.
Because chronology is only one component of structure, it's perfectly possible for a non-linear film to have structure. In this video I'll show you how, and along the way I'll try to convince you that Memento actually has quite a bit of substance under its iconoclastic style. This is Equipment for Living with Memento. Alright, get your bearings. Memento is about a resourceful guy named Leonard, who is trying to track down his wife's killer. This is made difficult because Leonard has retrograde amnesia, meaning he can't form new memories. Nolan devised a cunningly cinematic way of immersing the audience in Leonard's condition. By playing scenes out of order, the audience is forced to figure out what's happening at the start of each scene, just as Leonard is. The first time you see the film, it will probably take until the end of Act 2 or so to figure out what's happening, but in case you miss it, there are 2 storylines being told in alternating scenes. Scenes in colour are shown in reverse order, and scenes in black and white are shown in chronological order. The film bounces back and forth between colour and black and white scenes. The black and white scenes largely deliver exposition, while the colour scenes generally advance the story, where story is defined as the emotional change a character undergoes, not the sequence of events. The film opens with a shot played in reverse, a Polaroid of a murder, symbolising how quickly memories can fade. We then start a series of alternating scenes, black and white and colour. In the black and white scenes, Leonard explains in voiceover his system of coping, largely by choosing what to record and focus on. In the colour scenes, we see Leonard killing the guy in the Polaroid from earlier, Teddy. Prior to his demise, Teddy delivers the film's theme.
You don't know who you are.
This film will be an essay on the strengths and weaknesses of human identity as constructed via memory. This is a really cool theme, and I'm excited to explore it with you. We then see Leonard getting razzed by a clerk, and then meeting up with Teddy prior to killing him. At minute 11, in a black and white exposition scene, Leonard gets a phone call.
Who is this?
This is the call to adventure, or at least the closest thing you'll get in this film. The question of who we are is central to Memento, and this call and question primes the audience to start asking it here, in a classic call to adventure moment. Following the call, Leonard travels to the motel he was at earlier and rediscovers his tattoos, the aspects of the past that he has chosen to remember. In the black and white scenes, we start getting explanations of one Sammy Jankus, who also suffered from retrograde amnesia. In the colour scenes, Leonard meets up with someone called Natalie, and we get some serious thematic discussion.
Just because there are things I don't remember doesn't make my actions meaningless. The world doesn't just disappear when you close your eyes, does it?
We are encountering problems of objective truth. What is the universe really like outside our minds? What is the relationship of the individual to the objective universe, the reality that exists whether we perceive it or not? Natalie sends Leonard to the motel he goes to earlier. Are you keeping up? And Teddy buys Leonard lunch. Here we get more thematic discussion.
Your notes could be unreliable.
Memory's unreliable.
Ah, please.
No, really. Memory's not perfect. It's not even that good. Look, memory can change the shape of a room, it can change the color of a car, and memories can be distorted. They're just an interpretation, they're not a record. And they're irrelevant if you have the facts.
How can we live meaningfully in an objective universe when we don't have access to objective observations? We are hostage to our veridical perceptions. But how reliable are they? All those memories that you think make you who you are they real? This film will give us answers if we pay close enough attention to its structure. Leonard returns to his motel where he's already been staying, and we see the clerk take advantage of Leonard, showing us one of the major problems of relying on imperfect information. We are easily exploited. At just under 27 minutes, 24.55% into the film's runtime, Leonard dashes off for the meeting with Natalie he had earlier. This is the closest we're going to get to a break into Act 2 in this movie. Now that the exposition is largely over with, we can focus on the fun aspects of the story. This beat is the moment where Leonard chooses to move in a direction that will completely change his emotional life and change the tone of the story, and it comes bang on time. The honeymoon kicks off in black and white. The black and white scenes in Act 2 will continue building the Sammy Jankis backstory, and show Leonard adding to his tattoos. By this point, the black and white scenes have largely done their job of establishing Leonard's condition and his system of coping with it. Now it explores retrograde amnesia in a parallel case, flashbacks within flashbacks. In these, we see Sammy Jankis undergoing tests to try and determine if he is faking his condition. This will become important later. In the colour scenes, we find that Leonard has shacked up with Natalie, and in a later scene that takes place earlier, she hints that she is the B character.
Trust yourself, trust your own judgment. You can question everything, you can never know anything for sure.
Natalie tries to convince Leonard that there is no way to access objectivity. All we have is the subjective. Natalie represents the flip side to Leonard's coin, comfort in living in a world of uncertainty. Natalie is telling Leonard a story about how her boyfriend Jimmy was killed by the same man that killed Leonard's wife, one John G. Leonard is haunted by his wife's loss and assumes Natalie is too. So when she helps him by running some license plates, which happened earlier in the movie, it seemed to make sense. We then get more honeymoon scenes, like this darkly humorous moment where Leonard finds a beaten man in his closet and can't remember why. We later find out why in an action scene that keeps up the pressure. As is traditional for the honeymoon, we are exploring the premise in a fun and engaging way with relatively low stakes. But that doesn't last forever. At minute 55, exactly 50% through, Leonard burns some of his wife's belongings. This moment raises the stakes and signposts a shift in Leonard's character. It shows us that Leonard prefers not to remember everything. His memory system is imperfect, subjective. And then things get worse. In the black and white scenes, we learn about the police investigation of the death of Leonard's wife, which went nowhere. We also learn that Sammy Jankis' wife couldn't quite believe he wasn't just faking his condition. In the past, she hired Leonard to assess Sammy, and ultimately, Leonard decided that there was no medical reason why Sammy shouldn't be able to form new memories. The wife was devastated. Meanwhile, at the motel, Leonard becomes increasingly paranoid in the black and white scenes. All classic escalations of tension for this stretch of the story. In the colour scenes, we see Leonard try to resurrect his wife's memory with the help of a lady of the night. Later, in a pair of scenes, things get particularly nasty when we realise that Natalie is exploiting Leonard, using his imperfect perceptions against him. She hides all the pens and goads him into hitting her. Then, once he forgets, presents herself as the victim of another man, sending Leonard on the misadventures we witnessed during the honeymoon. This is the low point, where Leonard is at his most vulnerable. We feel the course of his emotional journey, even if his subjective experience of it is fragmented. Just like him, we feel emotions we can't explain. In the soul-searching following this moment, we see how Leonard met Natalie. We also see the tragic conclusion of the Sammy Jankis story, in which his wife tests Sammy's memory by repeatedly requesting an insulin injection until she overdoses and dies. So, we have the question of how to find meaning when you lack objectivity, how to navigate a world you can't properly perceive. Sammy Jankis' answer, and the one Leonard adopts, is to bluff your way through. Leonard's commitment to bluffing, 90 minutes or 81.8% in, is the break into Act 3. The world is bewildering and his perceptions subjective, but he can bluff his way through it. This act will test just how well that approach works. The black and white and colour stories finally converge. Leonard meets Teddy for what he thinks is the first time, and kills Jimmy, Natalie's boyfriend. We now understand why Natalie messed with Leonard the way she did, as revenge. After Leonard kills Jimmy, the black and white becomes colour. We are now done with the fragmented chronology. Leonard argues with Teddy, and at 103 minutes, or 93.6%, Teddy delivers the film's twist in a classic, borderline cliché reversal.
Sammy didn't have a wife. It was your wife who had diabetes.
Teddy claims that Leonard's wife survived the home invasion, that Leonard overdosed her with insulin, and that Leonard killed the supposed murderer a long time ago. Just like everyone else, Teddy was using Leonard this whole time, as an attack dog for a drug hustle. As usual, the reversal is where the film's theme starts to pay off in a big way. Let's recap. It's hard work constructing yourself with limited information. Even the information you do get is suspect, and you keep getting all these emotions and you don't know why. The only way to live is to bluff understanding, which Leonard does, until the refusal delivers facts about his life that don't fit his narrative. What does he do with this new information? He burns the evidence that Teddy was telling the truth, and he flags Teddy as the killer. He drives off happy with his belief in objectivity and meaning. I quite enjoy Memento. It's a sterling debut by a promising filmmaker and immediately establishes Nolan's obsessions with time and perception. Guy Pearce gives a fantastic performance as the lost but functional Leonard, and the other cast members acquit themselves really well. The conceit is well explored and only occasionally threatens to overwhelm the human drama with gimmickry. Thematically, Memento is a philosophical delight. The film argues that not only are our memories distorted, we want and choose them to be so. Our actions don't matter to us as much as our memories of those actions. But that's a bad thing, for various reasons. It leaves us open to exploitation, for one, and it can lead to a feeling of being lost. The film argues that, being the flawed mammals that we are, we construct our identities around memories that suit our intended self-images. But the film also hints at a better way. If you choose to value your actions over your memories, and choose to believe in an objective universe that registers those actions, you can be a better person. And that's what makes Memento such great equipment for living. Thanks for watching this breakdown. If you found it insightful, please leave a thumbs up. As always, if I've missed something or another interpretation occurs to you, leave a comment. I'd love to read your opinion. And if you'd like to see more movie breakdowns, click subscribe and ring the bell icon to make sure you don't miss a single future video. But I'm going to warn you now, I think Nolan's filmography is all downhill from here, so don't get your hopes up that I'll be this enthusiastic about his later films, okay?